If you are in a crisis situation and you are behind in your rent and you cannot pay your rent for the month, or you're experiencing a more severe crisis where you've gotten behind in your rent for a couple of months due to job loss, due to sole provider not being able to help you pay the rent, or your roommate left you, or your hours got cut at your job, whatever your crisis is, I would like for you to Google and locate your nearest shelter or your nearest social service agency. But specifically, I want you to locate the biggest shelter nearest you where everybody goes to for help. And I want you to ask them to speak to a prevention and diversion specialist or housing case manager. If you are homeless and you are experiencing homelessness, like you're doubled up with somebody, or you're sleeping in a place that's inhabitable, like on a train, or on a bus, or in a park, or in a car, or you've just been evicted, or you're about to be evicted in the next 24 to 48 hours, I want you to connect with your local shelter. Go to your local shelter, the biggest one where everybody goes to, or just one nearest to you, and I want you to do the same thing. Go into that facility and ask to speak to a prevention and a diversion specialist. Okay, I am going to define the difference between the two programs, the prevention and the diversion program, so you can know exactly what to say when you go or when you call the shelter, so you can get the help that you need. So prevention programs stop homelessness or crises before they start by way of rental assistance or through legal aid, whereas diversion programs occur at the immediate brink of a crisis, such as at the door of a shelter, to identify immediate alternatives to entering the system. Hold on, let me move my laptop over here because I want to stick to the definitions, okay? So you can understand and so you can know what's asked for when you go or call the shelter, okay? Prevention is an early intervention program helping individuals before they lose their housing or enter a crisis. Like if you got behind in your rent for a month, you would ask to speak to a prevention case manager so you can apply for rental assistance. Diversion happens at the point of application for shelter, targeting people who just lost their housing or losing it within the 28 to 48 hours. Prevention seeks to maintain current housing stability. Prevention seeks to maintain current housing stability. You lost your job, you lost income, you're behind in rent, $600. You can't pay the full amount. There is prevention funds available through this program to help you get caught up on the rent. And then diversion targets those who are technically homeless or in a housing crisis, such as those fleeing domestic violence or being evicted from a doubled up situation, okay? So the reason why I'm referring people to the local shelters is because I've already talked about the rental assistance programs through other housing programs. I've talked about rental assistance programs through court-based rental assistance, but a lot of times people do not know that our local shelters, most of them, now I'm coming from, I am representing Illinois and Chicago and the suburban areas, but most shelters have small funding through different financial programming where they have prevention funding to help people to address their already homelessness situation, or those that can become homeless because they can't pay the rent. When you go to see a case manager, or when you go into a shelter, you do not necessarily have to stay in the shelter if you are experiencing homelessness and have just become homeless, or you're living in an inhabitable situation. They have a diversion program. Well, case managers will work with you to find other housing alternatives so you don't have to stay in the shelter. Okay, and they use different techniques. They oftentimes would rely on the system that you have, like the support systems that you have, like family or friends or relatives that you can possibly move in with. Or sometimes you can get into a coordinated entry through the diversion program as a person that's experiencing homelessness and get on different housing wait lists, but you do not have to stay in the shelter. Sometimes through those programs, they put people up in hotels if they have the funding, or different static sites that they have where they house people that are homeless through those programs. Okay, so I do want to say that not all shelters operate the same. Not all social services operate the same. The systems have changed, where there was a point in time where you can apply for prevention funding through the shelter, and they'll give you like a month of rental assistance if you've gotten behind in your rent, or if you can't pay future rent, or if you can't pay all of the rent, where like you didn't necessarily have a job. And that's still the case in some social service agencies and some shelters, but not all. So I just want to be clear on that. Some shelters you might call and ask for prevention funding, and they might say, okay, we have the funding, but how are you going to pay next month's rent or forward rent? So some places might not give you funding if you've lost job, if you lost income, because you can't pay for it, because a lot of these places know that it's going to be hard for people to pay future rents if they don't have income to pay the next rent. So what they want to do is help the person whose hours probably got cut that month, or some maybe you're a mom or you're a single dad and you lost your TANF income, or you lost child support, or something happened to you that month or those past couple of months that interfered or caused that specific income to be taken away, but it's only temporary, and you might be back to a better place by the end of the month or the next month, where you're able to prove that you can pay forward rent. Another thing that I want you to do when you call these shelters, okay, and when you go to these shelters, specifically if you are experiencing homelessness, okay, after you have done an intake with a prevention or diversion housing specialist or caseworker, and you've got into the system, I want you to continue. I want you to get involved and participate in the drop-in services. Okay? What that means is I want you to be actively involved and engaged with and consistently meeting your case manager assigned to your case, because most of the times they require you to come in either weekly or monthly or twice a month, so you can keep your homelessness status current, so they'll be able to continue to help you ongoing. That's really, really important and really, really crucial for you to do, because you let the case manager know, you let the agency know that you need help, okay? That you're in a dire, desperate situation and you need housing. Additionally, you have access to other programs. You have access to healthcare programs. You have access to the pantry. You have access to the clothing donations. You have access to any hotel, shelter, or static site opportunities that might come open if you do want to stay in the shelter while waiting for a housing wait list or an opportunity to come open. Plus, a lot of times there are different rapid rehousing programs, different programs that are temporary that you could probably qualify, but you have to stay in that agency system and in that database as someone that is experiencing homelessness. Okay, do not be discouraged if you hear this video and you do what I tell you to do and the agency tell you that they are out of funding. Okay, still, because those fundings, they do go very, very fast, and most agencies only get funding once a year or twice a year, and just unfortunately a lot of people need help, so the funding is gone a lot. But that does not mean that you still should not get into that agency's or that program's database to get future help, because you never know what can happen from the point that the funding is gone to the point where the funding comes back. Okay, so I hope this video helps you. And also, if the headquarters or the biggest shelter nearest to you that everybody goes to does not have funding, try other shelters nearby in that city, or other social service agencies nearest to you, because they might have prevention funding and they have different diversion programs. So don't give up. When you're in a crisis, when you are experiencing, when you can't pay your rent, you don't just stop at one agency that you call for help. You just keep going. You know, it can be exhausting, it can be discouraging, but just don't stop at that one place. And that's the same thing for if you go to another social service agency. If you're just going from agency to agency, just do not stop there. Please do not, thanks for watching the video, first of all, and please do not forget to like, share, and subscribe. I am going to be trying to bring different information to you as I think of them, and as I hear about new programmings that and other opportunities that have opened up for persons who can't pay their rent or those that are experiencing homelessness. Good luck to you all, and I hope that your housing situation gets better. Be blessed.